Hello.
Hello.
Good morning, everyone. We have Red and Spencer, and Chill will be joining us, given that he is the star of the show.
Yeah, he is now.
For this episode, for sure.
We're just going to crap on until he shows up.
Everyone else has spent all their episodes saying, and Chill was on the live stream. And today we get to say, Chill, what happened?
And the diva has shown up.
Chill, we are live, so please note, we just went live.
No worries.
Take your time. We just need to pick a winner if you're happy with the 3 tips that we have.
Okay. I think that I was as I came in. Yeah.
Alright, let me just roll my 3-sided dice. Which is impossible in 3 dimensions. But anyway. Alright. Winner is 1 to 3. Winner is 1.
Okay.
I've put in who's going to read them.
Got it. I just need to get my sound levels changed and Audacity rolling. All that good stuff. I also need to be closer to the mic. There we go. Yeah. You know how it is, it rains once in the summer and everyone freaks out, so...
That can happen here, yeah. Everyone starts driving at half the speed limit or something. I don't know what they're scared of.
I don't know why. I mean, it's not like it doesn't rain around here enough for people to get used to it.
Mm-hmm.
Alright.
Alright, gentlemen. You see what Sleeger said? I almost didn't recognize Chill on the live stream without his headphones on. That's funny.
At first?
Well, you didn't have your headphones.
You didn't have your cans on the live stream. Not this live stream.
Oh, on the live stream.
You know, the one you did at Bioware.
I know, I got it now. I just missed it.
It's like, man, with all the travel, it's hard to remember that stuff. I hope you took good
Yeah,
notes.
well.
Yeah.
They got the run M&Ms for you, Chill, in Austin.
Hang on, you were a little quiet there, Spencer.
Oh, hold on. Blah blah blah
Blah, blah, blah.
blah blah blah.
Let me get Audacity rolling. Hold on, I'm thinking about that.
Testing. There's a waveform.
Apparently I have updates.
Nice
And
waveform.
good job on the editing, too. It sounded pretty reasonable.
Thank you.
Considering it's just, you know,
Yeah,
good
Can you
old
hear me?
iPhone.
editing was excellent too.
Gotta say. But I did what I could.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
iPhones do okay, but there's just a lot, obviously there's a lot of background noise and stuff when you do it that way.
No, it was actually surprisingly good. Surprisingly
Yeah.
good.
Especially since towards the end, they're like basically the whole team was like doing, you know, was in on everything.
All right. Are we ready? Shall we get the show on the road?
The Double Bubble interview turned out really well too. I know I was desperately asking questions, pulling teeth to get info out of him.
No, we've had a lot of good feedback on that. It wasn't what people expected. I know. I was impressed with what he was saying. So.
Yeah, once he actually opened up and started talking, he had a lot of
Which
really
one?
good stuff to say. Double
Which is
Bubble,
indeed.
Double one?
number 1 PvPer.
Yes, that was a good interview. I like that.
All right. Do you wanna? Let's see. Red. Do you wanna give it a plug
Sure,
in your bit at the beginning?
absolutely.
Okay.
Drop that in there.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now. Remember, extraneous noise is bad. And I'll
I
note
will
that
keep my
have a whole bunch
extraneous
on my phone.
noisiness to a minimum.
Excellent. All right, gentlemen. I never heard back from the cast about the live video feed and why the website was down. That's from Nep then. When you hear this
Um,
in 30 seconds, tell us what you're talking about. Or I could just ask you in chat.
you can type it.
Can't type.
Yeah, he might be talking about the Twitch feed. There were some problems with that.
There was. It was in. Well, they ended up archiving only 2 parts, so I think the first part was lost.
Oh dear.
Really?
Yeah,
I didn't
there
go back
wasn't,
and look at the archive.
like I wrote in chat, there wasn't really a reason given. It just cut out.
OBS. It's just
apparently it
being
was-
weird.
Yeah, they were saying it was the software, so I assume that's
I
what
kind
it
of
was.
suspect it was their internet.
In
Just
Austin?
saying.
They
In
should
Austin.
have
It
They
hasn't gone
should
to
have
the
the best
live yet.
internet in America.
I
Hasn't
don't.
gone live yet. And also, their image
They
definitely
were.
cuts
We
down.
just
from
restarted the program each time. In fact, they had me do it the one time. It's pretty simple. There's just a button you click and it gets going again.
All right, gentlemen, let's make this
Alright.
happen.
All right, let me make sure. Yes, my Audacity is rolling.
You two are recording?
I am recording.
Yes,
Can you hear me
sir.
now?
All right.
All right, cool.
Okay, going in 5. And hi, and welcome to the OotiniCast, the podcast that's coming in 0.35. This is episode 155, being recorded on Wednesday, July 23rd, 2014. I'm your host, Chill, and with me is my co-host, Tio. Hi, Tio.
Hey, guys.
And with us today are Spencer, aka the Dirty Spoons, and Red. So, Spencer, what you been up to?
Not much, really. I've actually been power leveling Tune on the Bastion so I could ruin Red's PvP Twitch streams. He knows about it, so it's not a big secret. So I started at got to about 32 during the double XP weekend, and then now is up to 44, I believe. I got to 44 last night. It's Jedi Night, and just having a lot of fun doing some PvP on the Bastion. And I gotta say, their GSF over there is really legit. I gotta say, I've had some really good matches. No blowouts. Not like some matches on the Harbinger. They're just the other team's just sitting there and it's just massacres. But all the matches have been
Ducks in the barrel.
yeah. I did get a little bit of the Gree event right late last night. I did jump into that. Which the Gree is my absolutely favorite event. It's got a little bit of everything. It's got a little bit of raid, a little bit of PvP, and a whole lot of hunting and gathering. So I'm looking forward to doing some more of that later on this weekend.
Awesome. All right, Red, how about your week?
PvP, absolutely, of course. I got really excited. I got to get into the Gree event, but first, I needed to give an awesome story about an Alderaan PvP where we were duking it out and kept swapping, but we kept getting it back just before they would get the lead, getting it just before, and then we get up maybe 50 points, and then they'd get it back and fight back, and we were going back and forth, and I can confirm because we had 10 points left, and they had 10 points left, and they captured a second node. But while it was still blinking to switch over, I think we had... No, they triple capped. That's what it was. They triple capped on us for it. But while it was still blinking, we got them to tick down to 0 and still won the match.
Wow.
So it actually has to fully turn before you stop pinging their side. So
Wow.
that was really exciting.
You literally can't get any closer than that.
No, no, it was really awesome. The PvP for DPS, I've been playing my Vanguard in that third tree, getting used to it, and this week in particular, everything started clicking. I've gotten a few mod upgrades, but I've been full Brutalizer for a while now, so it's not like anything significant. And it seems to, I'm feeling it. Everything's clicking. I'm really starting to enjoy it. I still might tend to prefer the tactical playstyle as opposed to Assault Specialist, but I definitely feel the burst in this spec. It's definitely more bursty, a little bit more squishy, but if you're on top of your game, and you got good teammates, that squishiness can be mitigated for, and the burst is really, really useful.
Yep. PvP's burst is always good in PvP.
Yeah,
You
so
gotta put them on their back foot.
yeah, exactly. And actually, I was running with Jing, who did our spoiler cast, and he has stayed in tactics, so we've been actually able to combo off of it pretty nicely. There's some synergy between the two specs. I did get into an interesting arena where as soon as Jing and I loaded in, this was a normal arena, but we loaded in, and there was a Guardian there who was clearly in very good gear, and the first thing he says after we zone in is, "Great, 2 Vanguards. Well, this is a loss."
Jeez.
Pretty much both of us did something like 20 to 30,000 more damage than him, and we obliterated the other team. I mean, it wasn't even remotely close. So I'm not sure what he was thinking, but it was really nice.
I know. Has he not played for a few months or something?
I don't know. 6 months maybe, because Vanguards have been good. They're
Yeah.
down a little bit, but they're still strong. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying it's always nice to shut up someone who talks before they seen you play.
Yep.
That's what I say,
Absolutely.
man. You gotta learn to ignore those comments. And actually, as soon as he said that, I immediately typed /ignore his name. And then I was like, now I'm going to prove this guy wrong. Because I never need to deal with that kind of attitude, but absolutely, I take that as a challenge. Like, I need to play my very best game right now. No slacking off. So anyway, did do Friday, or no, that is not happening. I will let you cut that deal. I have very much been focusing on achievements, and I came up with a really brilliant idea where I can, because I've been spending a lot of time, I actually picked up a secondary job temporarily, a project that hopefully will inject some funds for Vegas. But I've also been, whenever I'm on the phone or talking to people and I'm not in game, I've been wasting some time. Well, now when I'm talking to people and I'm on the phone, I get into the game and I go and run circles in Alderaan and kill things and kill things. And I've got myself from 45% achievements done up to 65% now. It's a grind, but when you're sitting there talking to people, you don't need to think about it. You just find that one location where you can run in a circle and you can talk and have your conversation, but actually be getting something done, because with the Galactic Strongholds coming out, yeah, I really need to get my achievements further. I mean, I know I'm way ahead of a lot of people, but I'm feeling the burn.
Are you going to be going for like a top stronghold achievement score?
Of course. Knowing that the prestige is calculated by unique items, and I can get a ton of unique items through achievements, I'm hoping to be able to fill up every one of those 300 hooks with uniques. And I've got every single crafting spec, so I will get all of those, craft every one of those unique. Really, really hoping. I mean, I imagine I'll have to hit the GTN for some items, but I would honestly like to be able to, at some point, have so much on the achievements that I have every item, if I possibly can, or at least have my entire stronghold filled with items that not a single one came from the cartel market.
Yep.
Very cool.
It's
Weren't
kind
Max
of
and Seema talking about that on a recent Switch or Escape podcast? About doing all the achievements to get the
Yeah,
decorations,
Seema.
etc.
Yeah, she does. She's been kind of slowly working her way along, and I'd actually asked her. I know she's a bit behind me, but I was actually quite pleased on their show this week that she immediately jumped and explained to Max. I think he either said something wrong or he was questioning something, and she immediately popped up. Oh no, this is exactly how it works. And I was like, oh, she does know her achievements. This is good stuff. So she's a good resource too for how to work through them. She's doing it a little bit different strategy than me, but and she's ultimately she's got an edge because she's done a lot more operations than I have in the past 6-8 months.
Sure.
So. Had a lot of fun with Spencer and a few other people this last week. It's been really nice. There's been a number of people that have actually been making characters or transferring characters on the Bastion to join in with my Tuesday, Thursday PvP nights, and they can, they get heard on the stream. But have definitely been meeting some new people, Sunday night in particular, I just ended up getting on. Some other people were on. We formed up, did some PvP, rocked it. That was a lot of fun. I'm hoping if I start having, people on regularly, I did inherit that guild. I might have to make one and start getting some of those achievements out of the operations again, because to be frank, PvPers know their class better than PvEers because they have to know every single ability that they use. I wouldn't mind going in and proving that PvPers can knock operations out pretty quick.
Cool.
World bosses have begun with the Gree event. Totally psyched. I had done each of them once since the expansion, and I'm full on the reputation. So, I didn't get the courage up to actually focus on the achievements during Christmas. So now I'm really, really hyper focused on that. Yesterday was the first day it was out. I took out 3 bosses. Well, the worm boss twice, Wampa once, and I want to knock them out. You got to get for the achievements for the world bosses, you got to kill each of them 10 times.
Hey.
Which means you want to basically. I had a few people. We were standing in each of the caves, and then we would queue up for PvP if the cave was empty. When you get out, you can do 1 phase swap. So you have one of you go one direction, another go the other direction. If the caves are still empty, you queue up for PvP. As soon as you see it there, you just start spamming in general. Looking for more world boss, and people were starting to figure out pretty quick. You need to get in that group as quick as you can, because otherwise the imps are going to come in rolling. And
Right.
actually, it was really funny. We had 18 people in our group, and then I had like 3 or 4 people really crying. There's a huge group of imps outside. I can't get in. I'm like, dude, you can just body hop your way in. And they're like, no, seriously, it's a huge group. So we went out there. I was like, all right, everybody go. Let's go attack them. Let's take them out. 5 of us actually went, because only 4 responded to me saying, let's go, let's go, let's go. We weren't on voice. But the 5 of us, 3 of us were definitely fully PvP geared, and we slaughtered all 12 of them. And we were not in our PvE gear at all. So
Nice!
oh, man, I tell you what, even on a PvP server, the Care Bears are crying. Dude, I'm a pub. Why did you kill me? Why did you kill me? I'm trying to deposit the orb. It's my turn at the pylon.
Yeah, I saw that.
In the World Boss Cave, not even doing it. And I was like, man, listen, there's an achievement. You got to kill 50 people carrying orbs. It doesn't matter if they're pub or imp. I'm coming for you. But yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. I had one EP moment when I was playing solo in PvP, and I got into a match, and I wasn't thinking, I was just working pretty hard, and in the arena, finished the first round, and there was a guardian that was with me, and he looked at me and he said, or types to me, and he says, 9? You beat me by 9 damage? Wow. And I was like, yeah, man, I noticed that too. That was really close. He's like, no, you usually beat me by 50,000. I was like, what? He's like, yeah. I'm like, do I know you? He's like, I play with you all the time. We're always matched together. I was like, oh. And I felt really bad. I didn't even know this guy. But I felt really good the second round when I beat him by 50,000. So that was totally my 18 moment of the week. But yeah, it was great. It was great. And the only thing I was thinking, there's another way that we could go about it. I don't think I've heard anybody mention it. But rather than having it be a gear dependency, the gear dependency would naturally occur eventually. But really, what if they put a Valor dependency on it? Because Valor legitimately, directly represents how much time you've actually spent in war zones on that specific character.
True. And even if it was a while ago and your gear is currently a little outdated, it still means you put a lot of time into the game.
Yeah, you're still very familiar with the class. I mean, naturally, if you're at all intelligent, you're probably going to play a few rounds of normals anyway just to get your rhythm back, but then you should totally be allowed to go in. I was thinking that might be different, or even a combination of expertise and Valor, but... Because I guess I should put the plug out there. Since we had 2 interviews released this week, everybody make sure you check your streams for the podcasts.
Right.
We also have we had Chill's interview with his lucky visit out there in Austin, but the day before was my interview with Double Bubbles, currently the #1 guy on the PvP rank boards, and he had some pretty interesting things to say. It was a fun interview to do. So, other than that, what have you been up to, Tio?
Well, not a lot in-game. I was away on the weekend. I went down to Melbourne, which is another city in Australia, to see Wicked, which is actually a musical. Now, I may have made disparaging comments regarding Frozen, the Disney movie, but seeing a live performance is just incredible. So if you ever have the opportunity to see Wicked, and it is showing in the US and various other places, there are various people who do the performance, I would highly recommend it. And while we were down in Melbourne, we had lunch with Simon of the Oceanic Gamer podcast. So
Nice.
that was
Oh, awesome.
a fantastic experience. Simon is a
RPG.
really, really nice guy. And we had a good lunch. And I would recommend checking out their podcast. This is I think they published just on Sunday the second episode with the new format that they're doing, and
I'm
it's
really
just
enjoying
getting
the
better and
format.
better.
Very nice.
Yeah, you can tell that they're really feeling comfortable with this new format. It seems to click with their style a lot better.
When I got back from Melbourne, I did a video interview with Jacob, who has been on the show a few times. You can find him at Deltiers Gaming. And this was the second in his series. The first was with Heather of the Pretty Little Sith blog, and currently a co-host of Corellian Run Radio. So this was the second one, and it's just more generic, talking about gaming. So if you want to hear about my gaming history and what I think about PvP and other things, I will include the link in the show notes. And in-game, hard mode flashpoints. Been trying to do one most days. Usually I'm healing on my Scoundrel, and I had a bit of a faux pas. It was sort of spur of the moment to pick up my Scoundrel again, because that had been a PvP character. I hadn't been PvP healing on my Operative for months. I'll be doing it. We've been getting through the flashpoints okay. I was struggling a bit. Energy management was a bit of a problem. And then I finally noticed that on my action bar, there was this extra heal, which I was just off to the side and wasn't under any of my keybinds.
Oh,
and
no.
it was the
new
instant
free
heal.
one? Self-heal?
Yeah. No, just the instant heal that you get and consumes one upper hand.
Oh,
Yeah.
no. Yeah, your bread and
Oh.
butter. Well, second
I
bread and
don't know.
butter.
Important one, yeah.
As you said, the bread and butter, and I don't know how I would do it without that. So, I mean, I know how to do it because I've been using it. That was key on my Operative. I don't know. Anyway, so once I put that back in, everything became a hell of a lot easier. But anyway, that was kind of embarrassing. Other than that, dailies, and I did do the GRI event, everything yesterday, including the PvP stuff, which is never going to be fun, but oh well. Anyway, that's my week.
You don't
Over
like the
to you, Phil.
PvP, huh?
All right. Well, first a shout out to the chat room. Caligari's here. We got Spencer here. Dirta, Ghost Mirror, Red's here. Riss, Swotor Miner is here. Ari, Beware 2, Diggity 82, Ferris Terran, Nepthin, Palais, Pez, Rikiri, Slager, and Storm JP. And I think I saw, she's not on the list, but Heather Pretty Little Sith is here, or at least was. And Ben _B55 was here as well, but he had to go due to weather concerns. So, all right. So, hi everyone. And of course, the main thing I did this week was visit BioWare, and that's going to be the subject of the Sarlacc Digest. So, other than that, I worked on my PvP tune, the Sorcerer side, and spent more credits in the casino. I'm up to 2.9 million credits, and no Rancor, but I got a second Black Speeder, so I guess that's something. But I'm really hoping I can get the Rancor so I can just kind of maybe quietly ignore it getting it on more than one character.
Well, especially with strongholds, you need to have at least one ranker to throw into your home.
Exactly.
Indeed.
I gotta hit the casino
gotta-
hard this weekend.
Yeah.
Remember, you have 4 weeks.
Yeah, this rate it'll take them all. So. Yeah. So, oh well. All right. That'll bring us right over to the tip of the week then. And Tio, why don't you start us off?
Our first tip is from Tex McShoot'em Up.
Mm-hmm.
And he tells us, like many gamers, I cannot afford a fancy schmancy mouse to add keybinds. As a result, I have had to get creative with the way my fingers bend in order to fully play my gunslinger, who has just shy of 1 billion abilities, if you didn't know.
Yes.
One keybind has proven immensely helpful. It is a keybind I use for Hightail It, which is the ability that lets you roll forward. I use Shift Space to execute the move. This is useful for several reasons. Number one, not many people use a spacebar in the rotation. That's a fact.
Mhm.
And as a result, you are less likely to tumble forward on accident in the middle of a fight, which could kill you.
Yes.
2, since the spacebar is already associated in players' minds as a movement key, jumping and whatnot, it makes it easier to master. And 3, not many people use their thumbs in the rotation, so it doesn't take away from it. That's a really good
Nice.
idea. You can use this same principle for the gap closers that Power Tech Vanguards and Guardians Juggernauts have, as well as do Control Space or whatever your preference is.
And
That is a
probably
good
do the
idea.
same thing with any
Thank you,
sprints
Tex.
that are out there, or
You don't even
hightail it, or
Yeah, you don't think to use Alt or Shift with spacebar,
No,
but
not with a
it
spacebar.
makes sense.
Yeah.
I like it. All right.
Seems legit.
Yeah, absolutely. Second tip from Swotorista. If you're creating a new character and are agonizing over the character look sliders, make sure to screenshot your progress every once in a while. If you stay on the character creation screen too long, you will be logged out, and you'll have your progress and your sliders completely reset.
There you go.
There you go.
And third tip is from Mariachi. Never waste time healing your companions out of combat again. Instead of wasting time using your regen ability, simply hop on a mount. This includes Rocket Boost. Move on to the next set of mobs, and your companion will be fully healed and ready to battle. Another time saver regarding companions is for when they fall in combat. If I remember correctly, my last tip doesn't work for dead companions. That's actually not correct. If they are dead and you mount up and you dismount, they will be alive again. For dead companions, so here's a quick way to get them back on their feet. When a companion dies, I find it almost always faster to simply dismiss the companion and summon them again, rather than finding their corpse and reviving them. The dismiss/summon trick also brings a companion back with full health, whereas reviving them only restores a small portion of their health. There are probably some ancient tips for most of you. Yes, we have brought this up, but not for quite a while, but that is a good tip. But hopefully they're new to some of the listeners.
Right. And I'd like to add something that I noticed recently is with Tweak and so on that have long defensive cooldowns and so on. When you do that mount up and mount down, their cooldowns are reset too. So extra cool.
Indeed.
Because those cooldowns are actually really useful for keeping Tweak alive.
And the handy thing is that actually, if you mount up and unmount, HK51 stacks do remain for his assassinate shot.
Nice. So the good ones stay and the bad ones go.
Yeah, it's really cool.
All right. So by a random allotment, the winner is Tex McShoot'em-up. So congratulations, Tex. You're the winner of an M8
Love that
courtesy
name.
of BioWare and one of the latest cartel packs, courtesy of the OotiniCast. And if you have a tip of the week, please send it in to OotiniCast@gmail.com by next Wednesday for a chance to win the same. And that will bring us to the holofeed. Tio?
All right, let's start with the obvious. Game update 2.8.2 was deployed onto the servers as we anticipated on July 22nd, on Tuesday. Not much in it, though obviously, as mentioned earlier, the GRE are back, so the GRE event is active for exactly 1 week. And just something of note, it seems that what they're doing with the start time and stop time of the events, they are now aligned with the same time the dailies reset and the weeklies reset. So it's basically 7 a.m. Central Time, I believe. And yeah, so previously it was like earlier, and so sometimes the events would come active before maintenance began. So the Australians, since that's our afternoon, late afternoon, could actually do like Xeno once before and once during the week itself. And that was Greg's tip from last week, but not anymore. So they also say that Bounty Contract Week will return. This is in August 12 to August 19, the last week before Game Update 2.9, leaving, as someone noted on the forums, 2 weeks without an event. And
Whatever
in response
could it
to
be?
that, we got a a post from the dev team which said Thorn would not be amused by the implications of those smileys in that post, which basically means that, as people have guessed, the Rakul event will return either for one of those 2 weeks or both weeks during, so from July 22, from July 29 to August 12.
And hopefully on
Just see
Corellia this time.
Yeah, what planet, exactly.
Corellia or Tatooine, we don't know.
Right.
Well, could be back on Alderaan, but
I'm praying for
Probably
Corellia just
switch it,
because it was originally Tatooine, so let's delay on that one.
all right.
Man,
So
I say they should do it on McCab, just surprise everybody.
they put it in a couple codex entries. System messages are now movable using the interface editor. We talked about this when it first appeared in Game Update 2.8, but no one could find it in game, and it turned out it hadn't actually been implemented. It is live now. I've yet to play with it, so let's hope it is actually there this time. Camera rotation slider. Camera rotation speed slider now correctly adjusts the speed from 0 to 100%. I didn't know it didn't, so if there's something you've been having a problem with, give that a go. And there was a particular case when texture... Oh, I should know how to pronounce that. Texture anist... I'm not even going to guess. I'll just skip that. Let's see. They added a few missing sound effects. Rest and recharge item chance cube, which is very cool. If you've seen the video, it now has sound effects. Apparently didn't before. And the Recon Walker and the Bantha now play footstep sound effects while rotating. Now, a few class changes. Looks like just minor bug fixes. The shadows, the balance tree sever. Its force no longer interrupts Warzone objective captures. That's good. And when a shadow cancels the whirlwind, if you've got the containment talent, you spec into that, it will now properly apply a 2-second stun. Very cool. It's a shame that was missing. A few flashpoint fixes. Guardians of the Fortress now have the correct damage and health in 8-player Nightmare mode. That's the second boss in Dread Fortress. And they've adjusted some enemies in the 2 tacticals, Assault on Tython and Caravan Incursion. They've had their toughness reduced to make them for a far more enjoyable experience and reduce the length of some of those more difficult engagements.
Because that's what people were complaining about, the difficulty.
Yeah. And that's the trash. The boss encounters have not been changed. I don't actually remember nasty trash, to be honest.
No.
Just speeded up a bit. And of course, the Warzone 3-week bonanza is over. Double Warzone comms and credits is back to normal.
Boo.
At least they know they can do it. We know they can do it, and we can, hopefully see it again.
That's what I'm hoping, yeah. Some kind of recurring event.
Now, when you log in for the first time, you may notice that there's something a bit weird about the character selection screen. Specifically, your character is kind of zoomed out, and you can see all this background. And it's actually pretty cool, at least depending on the character.
Actually, you can also turn your character 360 if you mouse over it.
Right.
If you mouse over it, you can turn your character 360.
I thought you could always do that.
Oh, I never knew. I didn't know that. All right.
So, yeah. Now, as soon as you switch characters, it will go back to normal. This is a bug, but a bunch of people are saying,
we like it.
Good. Yeah.
I like it. I thought it was awesome.
It actually came up during my trip because they're getting set up to do strongholds, and Eric noticed the bug, and he talked it over, and apparently it's something that they already know about. But yeah, it's actually one of those bugs that's kind of cool.
They should take their time fixing that one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And finally, regarding that, Tate Watson did say he will certainly pass on that a vast majority of people seem to like the zoomed out view. So, who knows? They may actually change it. All right. Next in the news, yesterday, morning my time, EA, Electronic Arts, had its Q1 financial year 2015 results, which I listened to carefully, 7 a.m. my morning. Wasn't that painful. So EA is doing pretty well. They had a couple of bit of bad news. They had to delay the new version of, was it Battlefield? The one with the crime version? Was it Battlefield? There's some new version, hard something. Hardline, hardcore.
Don't know.
I won't even mention it because I don't know. I'm not interested in those shooters. They did mention that Dragon Age Inquisition has actually been delayed for 6 weeks. It was supposed to be coming out 7 October this year. It's been delayed to November 18. So that is the new version of Dragon Age. From all reports, it looks pretty good.
That's another BioWare property, right?
It is most definitely BioWare.
They're delaying a lot of projects here.
Well, that one at least.
Well, and
Now,
Galactic Strongholds, and it seems to be a pattern.
That's a pattern in software development. So
there's a lot of things that's being delayed, but that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. I mean, we're getting a full expansion because they delayed the Strongholds, and from all accounts, it's been good for them.
Oh, no, I'll give you that. I'm just saying when a pattern establishes itself, and I can say, ESO definitely had their game seriously smacked by people that aren't even going to buy it when it comes out of console now because it's taken so long. It's just it's just a slippery slope that a business doesn't want to consistently never meet expectations when you're publicly traded on the stock market.
Sure. All right. Now, during the call, they mentioned that digital net revenue was $482 million, which is 60% of their overall revenue for the last quarter, and basically it's going up 10% over the last trailing 12 months. So total $1.9 billion. Wow. So they're making a lot of money from digital net revenue or digital stuff, and a lot of that was from extra content and free to play. 211 million of that 482 million, up 19% over the previous year, quarter of the previous year. And of that, Ultimate Team, they've got various Ultimate Sports games, whatever they are, if you're into that kind of thing. But they also did mention that Star Wars The Old Republic and FIFA Online 3 were also continue to be significant contributors. So I was kind of surprised that SWOTOR actually got a mention. So from what they were saying, it is
and this
doing...
is the second time they mentioned that, right? In conjunction with FIFA.
Mm-hmm.
Which is pretty remarkable, because I know FIFA brings in a ton of money for them. That SWOTOR is probably doing very, very well.
FIFA like their #1 sports title?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so this is a good sign for the game. It's a solid... It's performing well, and thus no reason for them to do anything. They'll just let it keep doing what it's doing. Maybe even put some more money into it. We can only hope. Yeah. And there was no other mention of SWOTOR on this, the whole thing. They did mention that some IP was apparently chosen not to be used by the company, and someone asked during the Q&A whether that had anything to do with Star Wars, but no. This is some IP that no one actually knew that they had. So whatever.
Just something they were working on, huh?
Yep.
They got dropped. Okay.
Well, we did get that Battlefront is supposed to be coming out next year or something too, right? The Star Wars first.
Star Wars Battlefront 2015. Actually, there was a question about that, asking about whether it would have stuff in conjunction with the new movie, but they were more or less saying that it was to do with classic Star Wars, rather than... They said it might have some connections to the new stuff, but mostly it'll just be sort of set in the era of the current movies.
Probably as connected as the original trilogy is. Things happened at this time frame that happened in the movies. Probably a lot easier for them to make it semi-lore related, just if they make it happen concurrently with battles and stuff that occurred in the original movies.
Yep. Okay, we had a blog post on Manan Law. Now, I will recommend the Oceanic Gamers ODS1. So that's Simon's personal droid, ODS1. Did a segment on Manan Law, which covers more than was in this blog post, just the general stuff that is known about it. In this particular post, though, it just covers the history of what happened on Manaan since the events in KOTOR. And the key parts, it's worth reading just if you're interested in that kind of thing, is Arto City, which is, if you remember, if you played KOTOR, where the action took place, one of their structures that was on the surface, because Manaan is a water world. It was destroyed by the Sith. Apparently, they didn't like it when the Manaan guys tried to charge them more, I think they said. Well, anyway, they basically bombed Arto City out of existence, along with all the rest of their surface structures. So they all went underwater at that point. However, in our era, the era of SWTOR, they have once again established trade with the rest of the galaxy, and they have a new surface structure, the first one since everything was bombed away, called the Mercantile Plaza. And that was open with strict rules as to who was given landing privileges. At first, it was just the Republic, but they have now added the Empire. So that is sounding like, sort of like CZ-198 kind of thing, just a area where both factions can interact. So anyway, so that's the lore. And also, just today we had a blog post from Charles Boyd, lead writer, where he talked about the story so far in SWTOR in 2014, mentioning, of course, the war is still raging between the Republic and the Empire. Hutt Cartel's invasion of Makeb has been stopped in its tracks, and the Dreadmasters have been defeated. So what's next? He talked about Forged Alliances, which, as we know, Chapter 1 was Assault on Tython and the Korriban Incursion, will be of 3 parts. That was the first part. The next part will start with 2.9 and beyond. He does recommend, of course, that you actually kick off the story with the droids.
Excellent. So it's confirmed 2.9 with the Galactic Stronghold.
Ooh, wait, something's going on.
Who confirmed that?
You just said 2.9 and beyond.
Yeah, that's what right.
Oh, yeah. So be sure to check back with them for 2.9, which means we'll get another chapter in 2.9.
That's what I said, yep.
Right, so that's awesome, because a lot of people were thinking, oh, well, there's not going to be any content with GSH. And I was like, man, they got to do the next chapter.
Yeah, well, they sort of have to, because Part 3 will presumably be 2.10, and then we'll have the expansion at the end of the year, assuming that it is all on track. And they are still implying that it's going to be there.
Yeah, well, and he says, but that doesn't mean that Part 3 will be the end. These flashpoints lead directly into our next major story expansion, so it's got to come out before the expansion because it leads into the expansion.
You're repeating what I'm saying here.
It's great! It's worth repeating!
All right, and he finished with, we'll be releasing a lot more info soon, but for now, here's a teaser to tide you over. It's a picture of a Wookiee, but probably even more interesting is up in the top left-hand corner, where it actually says what phase you're in. It says Manaan Research Facility.
Brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
So that looks kind of like a Flashpoint, maybe. So I guess we're going to Manaan, as we more or less been talking about for ages now. So
right.
All right. Last in the news, let's talk about Friday's live stream. Jill was sort of in on it, obviously. So.
Yeah.
But however, what we're going to do is talk through the notes that I took when watching the live stream. Jill, please add in your own commentary as we go. Sure. And then in our discussion section, we'll be talking about Jill's overall visit and everything else he did at Bioware that we haven't actually seen. So if you've heard episode 154, you have heard the interviews that he did with the staff on the community team. But let us start the live stream discussion with the clarification, which Musco has been at pains to point out several times since.
As well as in our interview.
Indeed. Last week, they talked about the limit of 4 strongholds and how there was the ability to deactivate strongholds. And we were all wondering, why would you deactivate? And it turns out that this is just a constraint they have applied just in case, when they do add those extra strongholds, if you have more than 4, as in 5, it would cause a performance difficulty. Hence, they are limiting us to 4 for now. When they do add that new stronghold, that 5th stronghold, If it does cause problems, then they'll leave it at 4. If it's not a problem, they'll just extend it to 5. It'll be fine.
Yep.
They just don't know is the bottom line.
Right, exactly. So basically, he basically said it's to manage everyone's expectations because they didn't want to make more available and then put the limit in, and have everyone say, oh man, now I can only have 4, or whatever. And
Indeed.
It's much better to do it this way where you know that there's a limit even if it doesn't really mean much at the moment, and then it doesn't really mean anything at the moment, and then when the 5th comes out, the limit will already be there if they need it.
All right, so let's talk over the points that I picked up. Something that Chill observed, that when you're decorating, the hooks in a given room can be used as long as they're basically visible in your UI if they're on screen. So there's no like minimum or range requirement for a hook. When you're decorating, it doesn't matter. You could just, if you can touch it, you can use it.
Yeah, it kind of took a while for me to get used to that because everything else that's clickable in the game has a pretty strict range requirement. So, but it was kind of nice. Once you get used to it, you just kind of zoom out your camera and find a corner or whatever, and you can do it that way.
He talked about pets and vehicles. So this was finally clarified. We were just wondering how this worked, and whether if you have a single vehicle in your collection, it had been alluded to the previous week from Jack Woods that you could just place 1. So it is actually, the actual real answer is 1 per stronghold that you own. Say you got the Rancor, you can put 1 in each of your strongholds, but only 1.
Right.
And if you have the same mount on multiple characters, that won't help. You can have it as many as you like. You just need the 1 to basically unlock it as a decoration, and you can place it once per stronghold. So that's pets and vehicles. So it's good to know. If a given companion is running around with you in your stronghold, and they are placed as a decoration, their decoration will turn into a hollow while they're actually out with you.
That's pretty cool. Didn't get to see it yet, but it's a cool idea.
Yeah, it's a shame you didn't unlock any companions on the character.
Apparently it wasn't. Yeah, apparently they're still working on that.
Right.
They did say, I think this Thursday one's supposed to be all about companions now, though.
Wouldn't surprise me. It sounded like they were pretty close.
You can only place companions as decorations with a character who has them unlocked. So you can only place Kira if you're on a Jedi Knight. And if you want to place Kaizen, you have to be on a consular, etc.
Character, yeah.
Yep.
Huh.
The one thing that they didn't actually clarify on that, and I had thrown it in the chat room and I was really hoping they would respond, but they didn't mention if you have, say, 2 consulars at max level, you can only place the one that is on your character at that time. Can you then place a second from the other character when you're on that character at that time?
They did answer that.
I was listening. It seemed they kept dodging around and not making it really clear.
No, they said that only 1 of any given companion can be put into a stronghold. So, for example, I have a Sentinel and a Guardian. They both have Kira. We can only put 1 Kira into the stronghold. Even though I could go in on both characters and...
Yeah, it just seemed like every time they said that was, no, you can only place the Kira that you have when you're on that character at that time. They never really explicitly said you couldn't go in at 2 separate times with different characters.
They did. They were absolutely clear. There is a pick up all decorations function per room, and that basically vacuums up all your decorations back up into storage, emptying all the hooks.
I actually didn't try that one. I was too paranoid about it. Because usually I was in a room that had lots of stuff that I put down that I didn't want to have to redo. I don't know if there's like a "Are you sure?" button. I wouldn't be surprised. But yeah, apparently it is just the the tooltip didn't, or there was an explanation if you hover over it, but it looks very intimidating. You just think everything is going to go away.
And as you demonstrated on the stream, all you've got to do is change the floor layout, or the layout of the central, the hook that you're actually set that you're trying to work on. That'll vacuum it up anyway. You don't need to do the whole room. It's like you might be happy with the whole bunch of. Just be careful, especially when you know a bug's going to happen and you do one room and then your whole stronghold's gone.
So for any given square with a bunch of hooks in it, as Red was saying, you can change the layout and that will flush all of the decorations back into storage. It is worth reiterating, the decorations are not consumable. Once they're unlocked forever. They're either placed or they're not,
Right.
and they're in your legacy storage. It's probably worth mentioning that they were asking about character transfers. I'll just jump to that. Once an item is unlocked in your legacy, and once you've unlocked strongholds, that's just part of your legacy. If you transfer a character to another server, it should all transfer with you. However, the thing that does not transfer is the actual layout or your decorations that you've placed. So it's as if you start fresh. If you transfer a character, any work you've done on the old will obviously stay there, but on the new server, you'll have everything unlocked that you did have unlocked, decorations, strongholds, rooms on the strongholds, everything, but nothing will be decorated.
Right.
So that was kind of cool. Yep. Let me just go back to where I was. Only the Nar Shaddaa and Tatooine strongholds have the large ship hooks that we saw when they demonstrated the Nar Shaddaa one, and you could put a sandcrawler or whatever. Dromund Kaas and Coruscant do not, which is a bit of a shame, but they are the cheapies, the cheap strongholds. We were wondering last week, and someone actually asked us, the name of the stronghold, as in the stronghold's owner. When you zone in, and how does it appear in the public listing? Tio's stronghold, or whatever. That is actually changeable to any of the characters in your legacy. Jill, did you play with that? I guess there wasn't really much there.
There wasn't much there, yeah. I mean, actually, Jack reached over and did the pull-down menus on those too.
Right.
The name, the owner, and then also the what's it called? The title, I think it's called, or something like it, where it
Right,
says
and
Stronghold or Galactic Stronghold.
So for player strongholds, the title is just from a fixed set, and he said there were various ways of acquiring that, including achievement tracks and other things. But he did mention that for guild strongholds, the name for the label can be freeform text. So it sounds like you can put anything you like in there. All right, so let's talk about guild strongholds while we're on the subject. You can definitely give out multiple gold keys. We sort of guess that, which means a guild master is basically the guy who owns the stronghold. So that's the exception to having just 4. The guild master can actually have the extra stronghold for his guild. So he can have 5, or if he's basically guild master on both factions, I guess he can have 6 associated with his legacy. Don't know how exactly that will work. The guildmaster can, as I said, give out multiple gold keys, meaning any player in your guild with the gold key can decorate. You can only have 1 guild stronghold per guild, and the layouts are the same as just the regular player strongholds. It's just 1 for the guild. There are no unique decorations, is what Chill asked during the live stream. Whether there were special decorations that are just for guild strongholds, that's apparently not the case. And the way the decorations work...
Did you ask about the guild ships? Were there special ones for guild ships?
He did not ask that, but he did come up with that. We were wondering, people were beginning to speculate, since players can have strongholds, will the guild ships actually be decoratable, just like strongholds? And apparently they will. So you will be able to put decorations on the strongholds. That's good. No, there was no mention about whether there were special ones. And he also was talking about the guild members donate decorations to the guild stronghold. So that presumably means that it will simply decrease from their overall legacy storage count and be placed in the guild stronghold, meaning that it cannot be placed in their own stronghold. That's how I guess it would work, but that's all we've heard so far.
Yep.
So that's how you donate. And I assume that if you leave the guild, any of your decorations would just get sucked straight out back into your storage, or something like that anyway. Let's see. You can get to someone else.
It's because the way that I was understanding the way that the prestige is calculated, say for making sure that you can publicly list your stronghold, it's all about the prestige that's generated by the stronghold, right? Putting items down and everything. It doesn't have anything to do with your achievement score, right?
Right.
Okay, because there's a lot of sources that are reporting that, oh, okay, so you calculate it with your achievement score tied together with the items that you put in from the prestige of your stronghold, and then you multiply it by a percentage. And I
I
don't think
believe,
achievements actually have anything to do with it.
yeah, I believe that is a misunderstanding because
Okay.
everyone's had the same information that we have, and on that stronghold management screen, you can see the prestige over on the left, which I believe is based on the total collection of decorations that you own, that you have unlocked, and maybe however many strongholds you've unlocked. And the number shown was like 125,000. And as far as I know, there aren't that many achievement points in the game yet. So
Okay,
it
actually,
came
that
from
just
somewhere.
clarified it. That number comes from what you own, and then it totally makes sense because then it's the completion percentage is what you
Correct.
place in there. Okay, that makes a lot more sense.
Now, the point that Chill raised last week, and he did clarify, was Jack, was you are basically encouraged to come up with a kind of busy stronghold in that
Right.
it really does come down to the completion percentage is filling up hooks, which means if you have a whole lot of little hooks, you can put a whole lot of stuff down. And
Yes.
it seems a strange way of doing it, but that is the way it works. And as we were saying, the closer you get to your 300 or whatever the limit is, that percentage is then multiplied by your player prestige, which is all the stuff you've unlocked, nothing to do with your achievement points as far as we know, and that gives you the prestige for that stronghold, which is double for subscribers, and you need a minimum of 1,000 for it to be listed on the public listing, and it is used to sort on the public listing.
It's well worth noting. I think, Chill, you can confirm this since you've actually had hands-on, but
Hmm.
what objects you are able to place into a hook are automatically filtered in the list based off of the size of the hook, right?
Yeah, as soon as you click on a hook and highlight it immediately it's changed to whatever is appropriate for that one.
So it's not like you're going to want to run into your stronghold and immediately switch every single hook layout to have the most number available because you're actually going to want to be able to place larger items and they won't go into a big small grid like that.
Right.
So you're going to actually, it kind of forces you to play around with those different formats just so that you even have access to being able to place all of your items.
Yeah, and I definitely found even with what I was doing that you want to change, you want to play around with the layout of the actual hooks and have some bigger ones and some smaller ones and different arrangements. Just because you're going to want to do different things and it takes different arrangements. I'm glad they have the ability to do that because otherwise it would have been a lot more limited, and this definitely frees things up.
I was also really curious, that flaming skull thing that you had. Did you
Yeah.
have an object that was placed underneath that?
Yeah, I did. I mentioned it, I think, brief in passing. There was a datacron I put underneath it.
So you were actually able to overlay something. How did that
Yes.
was did you
Uh,
place something on the
that one,
large hook that was underneath all of them and then have a
yeah.
little
It was just the way the hooks were laid out. There was like a huge hook for the big object, and then there just was a little one in the middle. So I was able to do that. So
Ah,
so it
oh,
worked,
cool.
it worked fine. Yeah.
very, very
Because it
cool. So
allows
you will be
equipping,
able
as
to
we've seen, so things can overlay each other. It's
Hmm.
just if they happen to be big and bigger than their hook, I guess, and you
Yeah,
can
that's
rotate
Right.
things
that's really
around.
neat though. So
Yeah.
like you can
Yeah.
put things underneath the tents and stuff like that. That makes a lot more sense.
And that one interacted in a cool way because the skull had all the flames underneath it, but also the Datacron itself was sort of had like a sparkly flame
It's got its glow.
going on itself. So yeah, they kind of interacted in a funky way. It was kind of cool.
Can you tell us, was there like a Datacron for every single Datacron in the game, or was it?
Didn't really seem like it, but I mean there were a lot of Datacrons, but it was like it didn't feel like everyone in the game. Uh, I don't know exactly how they choose them or what, but I don't think they knew yet, or at least Eric didn't.
Yeah, the only thing
Oh,
that they mentioned about the Datacrons is that full table. There will be two,
Mhm. The
One
light
for the
side,
pub and one for the imp.
right? Well, light side and dark side one.
Right.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And presumably, at least one of those has got to be being Datacron Master, having gotten all of them.
Makes me glad I
Seems
actually
like,
went
yeah.
and did the Datacron Master. So
Yeah.
Yeah. I believe it. It definitely said it was achievement based. I don't remember if it said Datacron Master or not when I placed it. And
I
even though it
thought
was on
Jack
German costs,
said
I
that.
could have placed the light side one if I wanted.
Yeah, I thought Jack actually did mention that explicitly. Anyway,
Did you get a chance to see how many, like, were you paying much attention to where these sources were for all the things you were flipping through?
To a degree, I mean, it was about how you'd expect from what they've said. It really does come from all over. Like the giant skull was from one of the operations. It was it was one of the Dreads, Dread Fortress or Dread Palace. Can't remember which one. And a lot of those big ones are sort of achievement based. You know, like the giant. What was it called? What's it called?
Cry
The
Dragon?
Gate. The giant
the
gate.
Crate Dragon.
The
Or the
crate
Kill
dragon.
Dragon?
I didn't notice where the crate dragon skull came from, but yeah.
So you
but,
don't know if it,
Oh, the Hyper
basically
Gate.
all those big ones seem to mostly come from flashpoints, operations, and achievements. So
yeah,
whether
but were
those are
they?
some of those might be drops, but
Yeah, I was gonna ask. Do you know which ones were drops and which ones were just rewards for completing the achievements, or
I
do you think they were
didn't.
all?
It didn't really say one way or the other. I never saw one where it said like, you know, Flashpoint, you know, Red Reaper. It didn't then say, you
Hard
know,
mode.
parentheses drop or parentheses achievement, you know, achievement completed or achievement, you know, or end boss kill, or it didn't say that. So it's not quite
Okay,
clear.
so it actually tells you where to go searching for it, but it doesn't make it really explicit. You get it by doing this sequence of events or whatever.
Right.
Okay.
And my hunch is that there's going to be, you know, like people are going to be putting up websites that, you know, spell it all out once it becomes crystal clear.
no doubt.
Did you have any Chill? Did you have any experience placing pets or anything that might be mobile or interactive in Drum and Cost? I only watched half the live stream.
Yeah, I did. They did unlock a couple of pets and a couple of vehicles, and I was able to place those. And like they said, you can only place the one for vehicles and pets.
Yeah, but
Oh.
you couldn't like interact with them, like you couldn't mount them or have the pets follow you or anything, or are they all
No,
just
they're
stationary?
definitely placed. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
You could presumably jump on them, just like any other object, but
Well, they said that you could, you can mount up in there, so I was just curious.
Yeah, but those are
not
just
as
with your regular
plastic,
mounts, though.
Yeah. That would be
Which
cool,
makes you
though.
wonder, if you mount up on a mount that you actually have placed as a decoration, does that mount become a hollow of the
Right.
Is it
Like your companion.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, the dev version of the game has some like really cool cheats. I mean, because you can, when you're a dev, you can unlock the camera from your character. Your character just stays there. You can move the camera around wherever you want, float through walls, whatever, and then you click another button and it snaps the character to where the camera is.
Oh, cool.
So that's how they're cheating through.
And
They
I
just
said,
take the
yeah, that'd be a
camera
little
and run.
overpowered in PvP, and they said, yeah, it would.
Yeah, it would.
But if everyone had the same tools,
Yeah, it was very cool though, because actually they had like some of what was going on was they were switching and upgrading from an old sort of door to a new sort of door, and it was like halfway in between at the time of the stream. So some of the doors were working and some of them weren't. So we actually had to use that little trick to get to some of the rooms. So
Right.
yeah.
All right, let's just get quickly through the rest of the information, just time is pressing on.
Mm-hmm.
You can get to someone else's opposite faction stronghold if you're invited, but not via the public directory, so you will not see your Cast City apartment on the Republic directory, so you can't travel that way. You have to be invited.
Or have a key,
there is
right?
Could you give a key across faction? That's a good question.
That's what yeah.
I don't think they said that. So
I
that's
don't know how you would be
confirmed
able
either way.
to.
how would you give a key cross faction to a not outside
Yeah.
of your legacy?
Well,
I'm
how
not
can you
using that.
invite a
You get
character
onto your
who's not
other
on your
faction.
faction? It's the
You
same
have
logic.
access from the
so-
other faction, so you just give a key from your character from the other side.
No, I would
Right.
guess you're right. I would guess you're right.
Yeah, you'd almost have to do it that way.
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah, there's apparently a fee though. They're going to charge you to be smuggled in,
I
which
love
is
that.
waived for
I
smugglers
love
and
the
Imperial
exception though.
agents.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's just so awesome.
You do have to be on the faction to unlock the faction-specific stronghold. So on a character on that faction of the appropriate level, minimum 15 or 16 to actually unlock. So if you
Right.
want the Car City apartment, you do have to have an imp character of that level. You
Am I
can't do
the
it from the
only
pub
one who
side.
thought that was kind of duh?
It made sense. I mean,
You can't put credits into Sorry, you can't put credits into a legacy storage. It's a bit of a shame. It could be kind of nice to have a shared bank somehow, but sadly no. Fleet chat on the is going to just be left on the fleet. They don't want to deplete the fleet. They probably going to deplete the fleet anyway, but they're going to stick with planetary chat in Strongholds, at least for game update 2.9. Lastly, someone asked whether you could have two of the same stronghold within your 4 stronghold limit, like 2 Car City apartments. No. One each.
right. That makes sense.
And
Yeah,
finally,
it
Chill,
does.
you're talking about these fabrication droids of 3 types, industrial, synthetic, and universal, which are apparently used to create different sets of decorations. Did you have a chance to play with them? What are they about?
Right. The functionality wasn't there at the time, but but Jack did sort of describe what they were about, and basically you're going to have your both raw materials and potentially also just parts that you make from crew skills, and then you will basically give it to these droids, and if you give them the right things, then they will then hand you back a decoration. So that's how you're going to make a decoration using your crew skills is through these fabrication droids.
Excellent. Which are presumably decorations in their own right?
They are. They come down on a pretty big. They're like on the bigger squares, and they're very meaty. They're like war droids basically. They don't look like they're not C-3PO type droids. They're basically like big old guard droids of some sort, and you'll recognize the general types when you see them. But because they're very intimidating, they actually make kind of good guards. You can kind of put them near door. That's why I've had a couple near the doorway and stuff like that. Is because it looks like they look like guard droids basically. So they do not look like fabrication droids, but that's okay. They did that on purpose because it's a little, it's a little cooler. So why not?
All right. So while we're talking about the live stream, Chill, you are probably the only player we know about who's actually used Galactic Strongholds. So overall, what's your impression? What do you think?
Well, first of all, I mean, obviously it's going to change and stuff, but it's already really easy to use. I mean, more or less, as soon as you see it, you're going to be able to kind of roll right into it. It's all pretty straightforward. The buttons are clear and so forth. You click on a hook, and that brings up the list of what's available. You pull down. There's sort of a general menu for what general type of object it is, and then a sub-menu, and if necessary, a sub-menu under that. And then you click on it, and you can place it, and then once you place it, you've got these little bars, X, Y, and rotate, so you can move it around if you want. And, I mean, you just play around with it, it immediately becomes obvious how to do it. They did a good job as far as making it easy to use. It's funny, Jack, before I even started, he said, okay, when you're doing this, I'm going to ask you a question after a while, and because I'm going to want your opinion, but I can't tell you what the question is, of course, because that might bias you. So then after, and this is before the actual live stream, they had me, playing around with Stronghold so that I would already be ready to go.
Sure.
And then then he asked me the question. The question it turned out to be, because they've been having this debate for clicking on a hook, should it be a right click or should it be a left click? And in the game, it's a right click right now. But a lot of people apparently internally are saying left click. And I actually said, when he asked me the question, I said, yeah, I felt like it should be a left click. I got used to it being a right click relatively quickly, but that was like the one thing that could have gone either way. And and so that's sort of a debate they're having right now, apparently. And he kind of laid it out because there is a lot of it because he understands he's kind of on the right click side of the argument, but he understands why people might consider it a left click is just because in most computers that's just what you do when you want to highlight something and get going.
Why the hell not make it both work? Why limit it? That would just seem like the logical thing to do, because it doesn't matter.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
Unless there's a different function with left and right, which there isn't. It's one or the other, so why not make it both?
Yeah, I don't see why, unless it messed up something else about movement or something. But
Maybe.
yeah. But then the argument for the right click is that everything else that's clickable and everything else that is a clickable object in the game is a right click. So there's something to be said about sort of keeping that the same as well. In other words, they're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't, because if they do left click, it feels good for some people, but then the other people are saying, well, every other object is a right click, so why is this one? This is the only example of a left click. So yeah, they are debating that internally, and I'm sure this sort of question comes up all the time when you design a game. But yeah, yeah, it was a lot of fun to kind of come up with something that looked halfway decent, and of course, things happened and like the things got spun around and stuff, but that's test server type stuff. So, but I was pretty happy with what I was able to do relatively quickly, and it was certainly a lot of fun, and I'm glad I didn't fall down when they asked me to jump around and try jumping.
Kudos to you. That was fantastic platforming. Gotta say, impressive.
I would have embarrassed myself if it was me.
Yeah. No, that was good.
So shout outs to
I was
PJ.
sitting there just like, oh, don't screw it up. Don't screw it up. And he landed, and it was like, yeah, everybody was like, whoa, he made it.
Yeah. So,
All right.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
So let's finish off the news. They're just mentioning the San Diego Community Cantina, in association with Comic-Con, is happening this Friday, 25 July. Marshall Carr will be there. Still got a chance. Send us any questions or tweet him directly at DarthPops, and we'll get them to him so he can ask. He's already got some. And the next Community Cantina will be in August, mid-August, 15 August, in Cologne, Germany. And that's the news.
All right. Sounds good. And of course, if you did submit a question to me, I believe I asked them all. I mean, I hope I didn't make a mistake or anything. Certainly listen to the interview. It is out now. And if somehow I missed a question, or if you just have a new question, then let at Darth Pops know, and he's going to be asking questions at San Diego for everyone. That's going to be
questions asked. I was really, really happy. I was like, ooh, I asked that one. Especially because two of them, they were like, wow, that's a great idea. I'm like, yes, please get it in there.
Yeah, they actually really did like the idea of taking the family tree and that you can do in your legacy and making a picture that you can put up as a decoration. And I agree, that would be very cool.
And that is the one thing I would straight up be okay paying cartel coins for that. Like, to have that one unique feature, I would totally do it.
Yeah. All right, so Community Corner. And Tio, you have some picks to let us know about?
The Galactic Gamers Coalition, the third one, which I mentioned that I participated in last week, has been published. So I'll include the link to them so you can subscribe to them in iTunes or whatever. This featured JD of the Unnamed SWTOR podcast and Max and Seema of the SWTOR Escape podcast, along with me, Fred of SWTOR Reforged, and Road of Toro Cast. So yes, it is out. And the other thing I wanted to mention was congratulations to JD for 52 episodes of the Unnamed SWTOR podcast. Well done, sir.
That is nice.
And I would recommend you listen to his latest episode because he has an amazing idea for using Galactic Strongholds as a way of kind of extending its functionality to be even cooler. He was thinking of actually using it as a way of allowing players to design war zones or pretty much anything else, really. Give them the tools, which are all just versions of decorations that have various functions, but just extend it. So basically players can design all kinds of stuff rather than just having somewhere to put their crap. They could actually do something like a dueling arena, an actual war zone. Who knows? These are all
Right.
just decorations that could be added, so it becomes like a generic toolkit for building content.
That is
So
cool.
he wants to make
Pretty
he
awesome.
wanted to make Minecraft in a galaxy far, far away.
Oh well, maybe not to that extent, not any kind of voxel-based system, but who knows? So yeah, listen to his ideas. That's good.
All right. That'll bring us to the force feedback where we read out your tweets and emails. Justin wrote in, wow, that was easy. My home Best Buy store exchanged the card with no questions asked. The new card has all its digits intact. With the defective card, it had the first 6 digits out of the 10. I was ready to type in 9,999 variations to get my coins.
So this was Justin from last week who asked us about this issue he was having with his local Best Buy, and it turned out, yeah, got it resolved. So
Yay.
there you go. Customer can get a little bit of justice sometimes.
Yeah. All right. Mariah wrote, I still think Operator 9 in Terror from Beyond is the best boss encounter, all difficulty modes. What are your favorites?
We can take that as a question with notice and answer it next week if you like.
Okay. Well, I know that 2 of the community people both love Soa, so because they both mentioned
true.
it. And actually, Soa is one of the cooler ones.
Oh, I tell you the one thing from your interview that I would love to get back to Hillary with, because she was still trying to decide which faction. Please, for the love of God, play on the pub. We have nobody that even talks about the pub in the community team. Please play pub.
Well,
Yeah.
if I'm not going to be here next week, I got to say the tanks from Explosive Conflict.
Yeah.
Which one is it? That's my favorite.
Yeah.
All
That's still
difficult
challenging,
modes.
too.
It's very
Well,
challenging.
That's why I like it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah. Once it becomes
And it's
a
got
bit of a
multiple
pushover.
parts. I mean, you can't just, it's not wait till one thing decides to change and go into the next phase. It's everybody jump, run, don't die, get out of the way. It takes a lot of coordination, and that's one of the things that I like
Oh,
about
yeah.
it.
Yep.
10 stacks, Dreadtooth.
You like Dreadtooth?
Yeah, the 10
Cool.
stacks Dreadtooth. I really, really dig that.
Yeah, I like the Cyber Rancor boss as a tank because
Oh, yeah.
putting him in
Oh,
the
that's
magnet is actually a lot of fun.
And it's a
it
little
takes-
bit easier than the frickin' Soa pinning
Yeah.
to the ground.
It's a little similar to the pyramid thing too, exactly, which is one reason I like tanking Soa as well. But yeah, the magnet thing. I mean, you have to get it right as a tank, and there's a little there's a little learning and skill to it, and it's very different from anything else in the game for tanks.
I'll finish by saying Operator 9, I agree. Mariah's pretty amazing. I mean, it's a right pain to learn, but it's got a lot of moving parts in that encounter in hard mode.
Right. AKA
Yeah,
the
it's a lot
Tron
of fun.
boss. Yeah, that is a fun one, and
I
of
will
course
say
it looks.
for Operation, TFB is still actually my favorite to date.
Which one?
TFB. Just the whole operation.
The whole thing, as a whole thing, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a cool one. All right. Chaz Lobo wrote, my colleague told me that Jar Jar Binks was a great and funny character for the Star Wars movies. # drugs are bad.
That's about the only explanation I can think of.
Was it like a 2-year-old?
I don't know. Yeah, if the colleague is a child laborer, maybe. Yeah. I don't know. Different
I
strokes
just
for
love the
different folks, I
drugs
guess,
are
but oof.
Let's move it along.
Zodiac Netherstorm wrote, my Reddit post about planet-only chat in strongholds. The community has spoken. Could you spread the word?
So I'll link to the Reddit post. As of this morning, the straw poll indicates that of 229 total votes, I don't think that's really a legitimate sample size, but 49% want Fleet Chat as the chat available in your stronghold. 20% want Planet Chat. 24% want both accessible, and 6% don't care. So it does seem to be trending that most people, well, half the people want Fleet Chat. And a lot
Yeah.
of people want both, and that was my answer as well. If we got access, why not let you just choose?
Right.
So, why is there this fixation that taking people from the fleet is a bad thing? I mean, people congregate where the crowd is. If we have a few strongholds to choose from, wherever the most people are congregating is where people are going to go and do nothing. I mean, you do nothing on the fleet already. Why not have somewhere interesting that you can dabble around with that people congregate and do
It's a
nothing?
sense of the place being populated, that's all. That's basically what it boils down to.
Right, but the population is going to congregate, and you'll feel populated wherever they congregate. If it's
We're
not the
gonna
fleet,
be
it will be somewhere
Not
else. The
really.
community will decide that.
They won't be visible, and if you don't keep your general chat on, they won't be listenable either.
Everyone's going to be in their own stronghold, or that's potentially the way it could work. Maybe in the guild stronghold, or in the guild's capital ship.
Oh, you mean they actually want to be running around next to one another doing nothing?
Yeah.
I guess
You want to
it's
be able to
perception is
see other
reality.
people in the world. That's what it's about. If you're in an empty fleet, it was like before the mergers. It's kind of depressing. It's as if you're the only
Yeah, see, I
person
didn't
playing the
have a
game.
problem with that either. It was because it's like the other day. Actually, I logged into the fleet and there were 90 people on during Double XP weekend. There were 90 people on the fleet. I didn't care.
And you
Now,
were
what made
innocent.
me really excited was when I went to Tatooine and there were 150 people on Tatooine, and I'm like,
Sure.
oh, sweet, that's awesome. You know, people are actually out playing the game. That's a lot more intriguing to me than a bunch of people not doing anything.
It's all about perception. That's all.
Yeah.
Just perception.
Which is why I'm so baffled by the perception.
Move on.
All right, Capo Nerd wrote, World at War, remember to feel happy and use the Force. And he links to a YouTube video.
With love from the Italian SWOTOR community founder. So yeah, it's just a fun little video with
right.
SWOTOR, basically Machinima, with a track behind it. Pretty
Sounds
cool.
good. All
And
right.
check out his channel for more videos of such quality.
Okay. And Mikhail Lombard wrote, just resub to the game and to make sure that I get my home. And I just finished the gambling grind. 2.5 million credits later, I got my Rancor. Yeah. And can you let us know the episodes that Bill, the Galactic Auction House guy, has been on for us Auction House fiends?
Well, maybe. I might add a tag or something to make them easy to find.
Right.
I guess he's got to make back those credits.
Yeah, I'm still. Let me. I think I wrote down how much, or maybe I mentioned already. Yeah, I'm 2.9 million and counting. So, ouch. All right, Moff Chong wrote during the podcast. Hillary mentioned the end of beta dance party. I was there. Here's the picture.
Cool. I'll include that in the show notes.
Yep, very nice. And Jared, mad respect to Musco. 2 hypercrates per release. Way to support what you love. And it was a great interview.
Wow.
That's a lot of hypercrates. Yeah. Yeah, but that's what he did. I think he stopped. He said he stopped after a while, but it was for a long time. He was doing 2 hypercrates every time there was a new one out.
That's Krenna Toko on crack.
Yep.
Does he get a discount at least? I hope.
He said no. He specifically said no. He has to spend it. Eric tweeted back, I spend so much money, man. So many dollars. It's totally worth it, though. Gotta collect it all. And Jared wrote back then, makes me feel a little more assured that when I go complaining about packs that you can feel my pain.
They are just players like the rest of us.
Darklighter wrote, Darth Malgus statue near my work. If only I had money.
He didn't say how much it costs. I should ask him.
Yeah. They have one like it only. I think it might even be a bigger one right inside the main doors.
At the studio.
Yeah, the studio. Mariachi wrote, do any of you have experience playing SWTOR with a gamepad, like a PS3
Let's
or
do this one next week, Chill. This is
Okay.
already going to be a painful one to edit, so yeah, Red, if you can save your answer for next week.
All right, and that'll bring us to the Sarlacc Digest, where we go over the issues for 1,000 years, or until we run out of time. And this week, I'm going to be throwing it to myself for once. That's weird, huh? Because, of course, we're going to be talking about my visit to BioWare. All right, well, a couple weeks back, and it really was not long ago, they approached us with the idea of having one of us over. And it turns out I was available, and yeah, so they had me out. Got there on a late Thursday, and actually did meet up with them that night. We had dinner, and that was awesome. I mean, all the meals were great. They knew all the local restaurants, and they found ones different one each time, and we just chatted. We tended to by sort of common assent, tried to keep the subject off of SWTOR during the actual meals, because we knew that there'd be plenty of time to talk SWTOR when we are actually at BioWare. So, just in general, all four of them are pretty heavy gamers, outside of SWTOR. They play MOBAs, they play shooters, they play other MMOs, and so they're definitely they are in it for the love of it. So for sure, they definitely like gaming. For example, Hillary Nicole, she was an early streamer of League of Legends like years ago.
Oh.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
So she's, that they've got some pretty legitimate gamer cred under their belts. So, although the running joke apparently is that Tate loves video games but isn't any good at them. So, but the love is the important thing. So, next morning, sort of mid-morning, we all met up, and the hotel's within walking distance of BioWare. So it's actually an EA building. We went into it. It's a bit of a sleeper from the outside. I didn't know what to expect if, like maybe one of those, artsy places where there's like lots of, art pieces on the outside or anything like that. But not in this case. It's very much from the outside. You really wouldn't ever know that it was there. So, in fact, if there wasn't some temporary sign saying EA this way and that sort of thing, it would have been hard for me to even find it. If they hadn't been guiding me right there. First thing we did when I got inside was have me sign the NDA. So of course I will not be talking about anything that would be covered by that. And I'm sure SWTOR Minor is crying right now. But you got to do what you got to do.
More than you.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, whenever they release stuff, then I'll be more free to talk about whatever they release. But until that happens, and of course by then it won't matter because it will have been released. But but they're very generous in terms of openness. It wasn't because I've heard stories of people going to different companies' studios, and having like whiteboards covered and stuff like that. And there was nothing like that. A couple of times they asked me not to photograph this or that or whatever, but overall, they were very open. We were all treating each other with respect, which was nice. So after the NDA, they gave me the tour of the studio, and inside is unlike the outside. The inside is gorgeous. There is art on every wall. And in the BioWare area, it's basically all SWTOR stuff. So it's really gorgeous. Some of it sort of looked familiar. If you have the encyclopedia, they would have chosen a few of the same pieces. And then what they do is they just professionally have someone blow them up, and so there's this. Really beautiful art pieces that are like 5 and sometimes 10 feet wide and several feet high, from all parts of the game. The different you can have one with 4 different T7s and with different colors and different looks and everything, and so I was geeking out just about the art, and and the giant Malgus statue on the pretty much right inside the front door was pretty sweet too. but ultimately, it's a computer design studio. There's just tons and tons of computers everywhere. Every desk has a computer that I'm sure is like 100 times better than mine. Got to went around. I met quite a few people. I did actually see Amber, who used to be on the community team. She's still at BioWare, and she's working under a guy named Chris, and Chris is the head of the live production, I think it's called, something like that. Live services, live services, and basically he makes sure that the Surface is up and running, all the time. And if there is some sort of hiccup or any sort of problem with the service, that they're on it right away and getting to it. And so I saw, and then they even have like a kind of like a war room sort of deal where. It almost felt like to me, where there's like this really big monitor on the wall, and then there's every single server in the game listed with like whether it's green if it's going, or if red if it's not. And then one of them was red, and that was the test server.
Right.
And then there was like little waveforms presumably showing like how much activity there was, or maybe it's latency. I was trying not to pry too much, but it was kind of cool, So like every and then you see the Harbinger and the Bastion and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I said, and as big as it was, it was a pretty darn good big screen. But I said, like, well, what'd you do like right after launch when there was like over 100 servers for a little while? I said, yeah, we had several screens at that point. And apparently it was a little crazy. So it's a lot more manageable now. But apparently, if one of the servers goes down, there's a lot of eyes on. A lot of people who can see that screen from anywhere in the room, and pretty much right away it's it's all hands on deck, and they go right over to it and figure out what's going on if any of the other ones go down.
Is the place open plan, or is it lots of little offices, or are there areas?
It's kind of like little nodule areas that are all open. There's like it's like a double corridor, and inside, in the middle of the corridor, are like a bunch of meeting rooms and stuff.
Sure.
And then it's kind of open plan. Other than that, just basically groups of desks, a bit of. Sometimes there's walls between them, sometimes not. There were definitely areas where like the walls were really high, and others where they were almost non-existent. So I think it just depended on what was the specific reason for that particular, what was going on with that particular team, that sort of thing.
Did you get the sense that they were segregated by department, like the art guys in one section, the programmers in another section?
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely how they handle it. And I can't remember if it was it Kuze? I can't remember who asked me to take a picture of their server room, but
that was Minor.
Was it Sotar Minor? Okay. Well, that was one of the few things that was sort of like not content related that they didn't want me to take a picture of.
Of course.
I did see it. It's right there. It's got big windows and stuff, and
He wanted the serial numbers.
It was cool. I mean, there was a lot of computers in that room jammed together. Just exactly like what you expect it to look like. I'm not technical enough to really give any details, really, but it was a good sized room.
Mounted systems look the same regardless. So
yeah, exactly. It's more about the hardware. So they. And apparently none of the game servers are hosted there. So this is all. This would have all been for their own development and internal stuff.
They're all East Coast and West Coast data centers.
Yeah,
Completely.
they don't do it. Yeah, exactly. None of the servers are hosted in Austin. So yeah. Right.
What about dress code, Chill?
Their dress code is extremely informal. I think.
What a shock.
Yeah, not too surprising. I even asked them ahead of time, about their dress code, and they even let me know that it was, quite casual. So that's why I felt okay wearing the UtiniCast T-shirt for that day.
Excellent.
Yeah. So, yeah, t-shirts and jeans seem to be pretty common. So, some people dressed up more, but that's always going to happen. Just depends on what your function is in the company. Right. And the stream room, by the way, was the Jawa room. So so
That's
that
The
what
was
it's
meeting
called.
rooms are themed?
yeah. The
They've got
meeting
names?
rooms, yeah, have Star Wars
Okay.
themed names. So
Nice.
yeah.
The Java room. I like it.
And I asked him about their relationship with LucasArts,
Mhm.
or Disney now, but whatever. Um, and apparently it's quite good. I didn't actually get to meet anyone from there, but apparently they meet all the time virtually. Much of the time it sounded like, but in person as well, because they're just constantly having to keep in contact because both sides want it that way. They want to make sure that that they're keeping in good communication as far as all the things that are regarding Star Wars, because it's their universe,
Respecting the IP.
and BioWare is is building a significant part of it. So yeah, they're
Well,
apparently doing meetings all the time.
as
Well,
far
it
as
makes
canon
sense
goes,
too.
it would be actually good to know whether it's being legitimized as far as canon, the new canon, which is everything that they produce is all canon from going forward.
Right.
Star Wars SWTOR is new, as I think Red pointed out in the previous episode. It's just ongoing new development. So does that mean it's canon now?
I
Canon
don't know.
story. Which, well,
No
the
one's
fact
out.
that they keep saying that they speak to them that frequently, that's encouraging at least that maybe they're trying to figure out a way to make that happen. Maybe
With
it's not,
episode 7.
not settled yet, but, or,
Yeah.
at least they can drop some Easter eggs into our game, because they are community. Because there's no question that BioWare, as a label, has certainly done the most to create a good brand for Star Wars in the gaming community now that Lucas Games is gone,
Right.
or
Right.
LucasArts.
It's true.
Yeah.
There's a lot of negativity around SWTOR, unfortunately, which we don't understand, but
Right.
And yet it keeps getting all these accolades.
indeed.
One of the nice things about having sort of a very artistic, crew around there is that there's a lot of like cool little things like on the whiteboards. There's usually like numbers and words and stuff just like you'd expect, and then there'd be like a really cool doodle.
Oh,
Like there was like this one monster, and there's another monster punching it in the face, and it was like.
how cool is
It
that?
was just on a random whiteboard. I decided not to take pictures of those because I'm sure that those would
Mhm.
probably be censored out anyway because of the other information on the whiteboard. But it was pretty sweet. Right. So after going around seeing the place, then sat down, did the interviews, and so the interviews have been released now, so that's all vetted and good to go.
Yep.
Then we set up for the live stream.
Oh, that you play with strongholds first, or that was part of the setup?
Yeah, well, we set up strongholds first. Basically, Musco went on his internal account, and made a new character, randomized it, and I got to see the cool things like you put in a little command, and all of a sudden you have a level 55 who that was level 1 but a second ago. And another nice thing for the devs. And then opened up the mail, got out the Imperial pilot suit that I like, and had the character put that on, and then he actually was running around with the training saber, which looked ridiculous, so we just unequipped it. So I don't know if you noticed, but the on the live stream, but he was doing something that characters rarely do, which is run around with both hands empty.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I got to. Then they fired it up, and ran it, and showed me a little bit about how to do it, but there really wasn't much instruction needed. And then I just played around with it basically, and that's why that first room and the outside area especially was all already decorated by the time we started the live stream. So yeah, have there been any questions from the chat room or anything else?
Not really. Red
Not sure
was
what else to
arguing
tell.
with someone about Valor, his Valor theory or idea.
Someone who's chosen to remain nameless with a guest-generated name.
Not specifically.
MIB_UD7435 is a default before you type in your own name.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't see any questions. Chill.
Okay.
If people have got questions, please send them in, and she'll answer them in next week's show.
Yeah.
Anything you want to finish up with, Joe?
They were extremely kind to me, and it was great talking with them, and meeting them, and yeah, I would do it again in a heartbeat, and
Of course.
and it was basically just it was a kick because you get to sort of see behind the scenes, get to meet the people who are making the game and designing the game, communicating about the game, and all that good stuff. And
Do you feel the game is in good hands, Jill, based on what you saw and the people you met?
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone there seemed to be really, into it and really excited about it, and
So the devs and whatnot that you were meeting, they were themselves excited and optimistic about the game.
yeah, definitely. It does seem like it's a field that if you're interested in, that's why you get into it, not just for the money or because you're trained in it or whatever, but actually for the love of the game. So, and that seemed to be borne out by everyone that I met. So,
Excellent.
yeah, and it was the facility. It was not exactly huge, but it wasn't tiny either. I mean, it was pretty good size, and actually, it's also a little hard to get a true sense of the thing because it was an EA building, and apparently a big chunk of the building was taken up by EA Sports, and another by, I guess it was PopCap, is that they bought recently? Yeah, so there's like big chunks of the building that are going for them too, but they didn't, we didn't go over there.
Is this the only BioWare label in Austin?
Apparently, it's just they, that was just wasn't in the cards, I guess.
Sure.
Is this the only BioWare label in Austin? Star Wars?
What do you mean?
Like Dragon Age or any of the other games?
Oh, I didn't. Yeah, I didn't see
They're
any
all up
Dragon
in
Age people
Canada,
there, but
aren't they?
I mean, there could have been some people there they didn't mention, but I didn't.
I think that's in Edmonton. From
Yeah, I
memory.
don't think so. I didn't seem like it. It seemed like everything BioWare that I saw was also SWTOR. So, yeah,
It's kind of
that
cool.
seems to be their thing for Austin.
Yeah.
Were they
any
working
final-
hard?
Yeah, it seems like they work pretty hard.
They've got a lot to do, and
I'm just saying, I'm expecting
Well, I
2
know-
expansions here, so...
Yeah. Well, I know that just like when they were getting the Strongholds thing going, Musco had to figure out, okay, exactly what version, of the internal test server do I need to have right now because it's changing all the time.
Sure.
And like I mentioned with the doors before, there was changes that had been going on even like that. That was a change from that day where they were still switching it over. So some of the doors were working and some of them weren't because they were literally being moved over as we were talking. So it was like, there's things changing all the time and being updated all the time. So there's someone's working hard.
Now, I know you're under an NDA, so you won't be able to give us details, but did you actually get to see the Wall of Crazy?
Oh, I did not see a Wall of Crazy, so I don't know if it's a literal Wall of Crazy that they have in a room somewhere, or if it's more of a document that they use. I don't know. Or if it was a Wall of Crazy, before launch, but now it's a document. I don't know.
Was
Which
there
was-
an EA staff cafe? That was Simon was asking.
Wish
That.
I'd thought of that. I wish I'd thought to ask about that.
The Wall of Crazy.
Yeah, that was from Ghostmere in the chat room.
Was there a staff cafe? Simon was asking, Jill.
The what?
Cafe.
A staff cafe.
Canteen.
Oh,
Place to buy
Oh.
food.
they actually they were pretty good about that. They had a pretty good sized break room, with a couple of nice amenities, the usual like vending machines and stuff like that. But there's also like a billiard table and
Cool.
there's some food sort of there all the time as well. Like there's whole like drawers for like cereal, and you could have milk and cereal, and all kinds of different coffee machines, different types of coffee machines, and
So with coffee machines and
hot and
billiards,
cold
it's
water
a
for
good place for
water
chill
and
to
tea.
chill.
Yeah, and then that was the main break room. And then there were other break rooms that were just sort of like, there were several other ones that were just sort of around that were, smaller, but just so people could run up and grab a cup of coffee or whatever.
Fairly standard for the trendier IT companies these days.
Which the one
Right.
thing from your interview that with Musco himself I found rather interesting was the fact that he did mention, he seemed like he really changed his tone about crossover queues. Like maybe that would be something he's like not in the near future, rather than no, that's just totally not going to happen, which we've heard so often. So I'm wondering maybe this time next year we'll be talking
Right.
about. That would be great if next year, end of the year, it was crossover queues for the expansion. I would be jazzed.
I don't think they ever
Yeah.
said never. They just said it was
Right.
Yeah, I think the only thing they were saying was that it'd be like really hard and never
Yeah.
impossible.
Yeah,
was not
it does
one thing
feel
that
like
they said.
something that they're really taking a hard look at. So, but he was not committal one way or the other. So,
because it's not on their roadmap as of now.
Right.
So
Yeah.
they may be investigating
Which,
doing.
obviously, they've got 2 expansions to release before they worry about any more roadmap.
You want crossover queues? There's a bunch of stuff you're not going to get in terms of content.
Right.
All right, let's wrap it up.
all right. Actually, I got to get back to the part of the notes. Somehow I went up. Okay. All right, that's a show. If you'd like to play with us in the Utini Knights Guild on the Republic side of the Harbinger server, or in our
Utini Rage!
Guild on the Empire side, do a /c join Utini to join the Utini channel. Then ask for the quiz that lets us know you're a fan of the show. You can email questions and comments about the show to utinicast@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter. We're on @utinicast. I Twitter under my own name @Brandon L. Starr, and Tio uses his name @Jason Etheridge. Red Twitter's under @R3DN4, or you can watch him on twitch.tv/R3DN4. And Spencer Twitter's under @da_dirty_spoons. Da is DA, by the way. Check out our website. My street cred is -3. Check out our website, OotiniCast.com, which has links to our presence on Google Plus and Facebook. You can subscribe to us on iTunes, and we're also on Stitcher and Spreaker. We record the show live every Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. Pacific. Go to OotiniCast.com/live to find out how to join in. Our theme song is from Mevio's Music Alley. Check it out at music.mevio.com. And thanks to the chat room, and thanks especially to the community team at SWOTOR, and thank you, Red and Spencer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next week.
That's a wrap!
All right, keep recording. Don't stop. Don't stop. All right, chat room. Thank you very much for joining us. And
Thanks,
we'll be
all.
back next week.
Thank you.
Don't expect a show between this one and the next one because we've been putting out way too many episodes of late. So
Too much
thank you for-
content.
No such thing.
All right,
No such
So worth it, though.
stopping the broadcast.